Alex Ludwig from Syntax. We're the national North American distributor for RME products. And we have the new Fireface UCX, which is basically the junior version of the UFX. It's a new 18-channel audio interface. It handles up to 192 sample rate, USB, FireWire 400. Either connection's fine. We have low latency converter design that'll work at lowest latencies possible on either format, USB or FireWire. The biggest feature of it is it has class compliant mode if you're using an iPad. With the iPad, it's able to do up to 18 inputs and outputs depending on the software you're using at 44.1 and 48K, which is all the iPad will deal with. But you'll have a very high-end multi-channel recording interface for your iPad. There's quite a few different software programs out now that will work with that. The UCX itself is based on the mic preamp design and analog converter design from the UFX. It's a similar converter design to what the UFX is on the A to D and D to A stage. Not quite as good as the UFX, but very, very, very close. The mic preamps are the same designs, the same very high quality, very neutral, low noise, transparent sounding mic pre's. Work great with ribbon mics, condenser mics, dynamic mics, you name it. Built-in effects on it like the UFX, so you have EQ, compression, reverb available on all the channels. The reverb is a aux-send bus, but EQ and compression is per channel on any combination of inputs and outputs. The Total Mix Effects software, which is from the UFX, same exact software, same driver version, so they can be used together or switch back and forth, no problem. The converter design on that, it's all very similar to that sound quality-wise, so you won't have any major changes in sound quality between the two units. The map on it is 1649. The new map on the UFX is $22.99. Went up a bit, unfortunately. It's not going to have the recording functions of the front panel recording functions of the UFX. It's not possible just to fit it in the unit physically. We just couldn't squeeze it in there. The class compliant mode with the iPad also works for Linux users. They can also use the unit that way. It's the only USB or FireWire interface we have that will work directly in Linux in that way. So it is good for the few people that use Linux. It'll be a good thing for them. USB and FireWire-wise, we designed the driver to work as low as latency as any of our PCI or PCIe devices work at. Obviously, studio applications, you have an 18-channel audio interface. This standalone converter it can act as. When you set up the A to D the right way, you can end up having an 8-channel A to D to A converter in a half rack without the computer. You can use two different effects presets when in the CC mode, which is the iPad mode is what it's in at that point. So you can do like a monitor mix sort of configuration while you're recording with the iPad, or effects processing, however you want with that. A live application, the latency on it is so low, easily can be used for live performance of virtual instruments, even live effects processing, live band mixing if you want to. It's probably not enough built-in I/O for something like that, but if you're doing like a small duo or live guitar performance, anything like that, it'd definitely be low enough latency to process it through your software. Any of the Mac or PC software at this point can operate at very low latencies in live situations. That should be an issue with it. If you wanted to use any of the effects abilities of the Total Mix in a live situation, you use the EQ and compression, latency free at that point. But everything else would be like your normal, guitar processing, things like that can be used on top of that if you want to. And the latency wouldn't be affected by that. It all happens in the hardware level. So it's basically a digital mixing board, 18-channel digital mixing board as part of the unit. If you go to RME-audio.com, we have a bunch of information up for the unit at that point. There's downloadable documentation, tons of photos. I believe we have a bunch of stuff on a YouTube channel right now. Probably some links on that on the Facebook page. So any of that, a whole bunch of details up on there. There's probably a bunch of buzz in the forum right now, I'd imagine, for us. We just officially announced it on there, I think, yesterday. There's a bunch of information for that. Driver-wise, they use the same driver as the UFX, so they technically can be used together. One of the big things on either one of them having to be a standalone converter, have a mode for that. You can end up using this as a to D DNA converter for your UFX or any other ADAT device. So besides being an audio interface, you can buy it just as a converter if you want to.